All right. And there we go, finally. All right. Hello and welcome to the Console Explosion. I am your host, the philosopher coming from Michigan, and today I have a very special guest. We have Mike, who is a fellow indie game developer over at Team Oberon Games. How's it going, Mike?
Hey.
All right. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Steam refunds eventually. We're going to get to that, but there's been a lot of game news being released lately within the last few weeks, especially the last few days. E3 has dropped their list. There's a bunch of games that are coming out. Fallout 4 has been confirmed. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is Uncharted, the HD remake. And not so much just Uncharted, but the idea of HD remakes and how there have been so many lately. I think they're getting out of hand, but what do you think?
Well, I think the HD remakes, they used to serve a purpose, at least in the older days, I should say, when stuff from like the PS1 and PS2 era were getting ported over to like PS3. For instance, like God of War. I believe they had an HD remake.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. I feel like the older games that actually have some age to them that do benefit from a graphical upgrade that is reflected in, okay, well, the times have changed. This game is 10 years old and we have better technology. We can express more things than we could have before. But I think the trend that you're talking about is, you're seeing kind of the same types of games kind of getting recycled almost, maybe even 2-3 years after they've been created. And I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, it's almost like there's two separate forms of HD remakes. You have games like, I really enjoyed Zone of Enders that came out on the PS2 a while ago. And that game, I don't know. I really, really liked it, but the graphics, it didn't seem like a giant leap. Whereas a good example is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. That wasn't really considered a remake, but that is the kind of remake I'd like to see. Both Konami, but Silicon Knights did the Twin Snakes, but different controls, way better cutscenes and graphics overall. Whereas the Zone of Enders and games like Uncharted, it's almost like a bit of a resolution upgrade,
right,
rather than updating the overall game.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And speaking to Uncharted as well, I've heard that they are not including the multiplayer with this HD package.
Huh. I actually haven't heard
that. That just doesn't sound like that adds anything. If anything, it takes away from the experience. And those games arguably are, beautiful in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
And really their graphical fidelity stands out today because of just the engineering and the skills behind the artists at Naughty Dog. And you put that side to side with any game today and it still looks great. And Uncharted 2, that game, I played that a couple months ago. I popped that in my PS3 and that looked just as good as any Xbox One game out there today.
Yeah, those games are really beautiful. I loved 2. I never got a chance to play 3. I liked 1 a lot. It was a frustrating game, but yeah, it doesn't seem necessary at this point to release a game. I feel like it might just be kind of a money machine, so to speak. Just putting out a game again with a little effort, I would say, and just on a new system.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. They're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with that, and I don't think we're going to see a decline in that. I think if anything, with this new generation, if we don't If we don't see any new IPs come out of E3 next week, I feel like a lot more HD remakes will be made, porting things over from the previous generation to the newer consoles.
Yeah. I know Uncharted 4 is coming out for the PS4, and I wonder if the HD remake has anything to do with kind of a marketing tactic to get more people to introduce people who never played the Uncharted series on PS3. Or if they're trying to get those people into the game with a lower price tag, and then introduce Uncharted 4.
Yeah, that would make sense. Again, I'm not really too sure how many people haven't been introduced to Uncharted. It's the 4th iteration now. It's I kind of feel like if you were interested in the Uncharted series, or at least the 4th installment coming out, you would have had previous knowledge of the other games. So
yeah, you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I'll have to look up some numbers and see. I know as someone who's worked at GameStop for a while, like you get people who buy a console and they've never really even touched any games, or they're getting it for their kid, and it's their first console. Some of the younger kids, and yeah, it's a very well known, popular. It's almost a staple. It's almost like one of their trademark, mascot characters for Sony at this point, especially PS3. But for PS4, they don't have that yet. I don't think they have a definitive, mascot, and that might be what they're trying to do with this. And like Infamous, Second Son, right? Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. Another game that has a 4th iteration that I'm excited about though is Fallout 4. They they confirmed it's taking place in Boston, so like they're still slowly releasing more news. I'm sure during E3 they'll plop out some more news, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
Probably a season pass as well, which for these kind of games I don't mind. But if they did release or announce a season pass, you think you'd get it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty much definitely gonna get Fallout 4 in the season pass if they do come out with it.
No.
I'm actually a little on the fence with the season pass. I normally don't like to purchase those just because how they've been marketed in the past is, okay, well, we'll give you you'll buy the season pass, and then for every future DLC that we have, you will receive that with this package. So it's almost like a glorified pre-order, a pre-ordering package for DLC, and that's something that I don't normally like to mess around with, because in my case, Borderlands, I got the season pass for Borderlands, and maybe I didn't value one of the DLCs as much as one of the other DLCs, and having that season pass, it was like, okay, well, you have it. Here it is. You've already paid for it, so it's like, eh.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're spending money on something that you don't know the quality of it yet. You don't even know if you're going to like it or not.
Right.
Yeah, it is kind of a scary thing. You kind of have to be a very big fan of that company to go ahead and buy something. It's like buying clothes. Like, okay, I'm going to buy this outfit, but I don't know what all the outfit's going to be yet. What color it's going to be. Yeah, so it's kind of a risk. It's sort of a gamble, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like, you take that risk when you pre-order games anyway. But I feel like with Fallout 4, at least for me, I've played the previous Fallout games, and I know Bethesda's got a pretty decent track record of keeping things, relatively fresh each iteration.
Yeah.
So I kind of know what to expect. It's obviously it's going to be a Fallout game. and I've loved 3, and I've loved New Vegas. So if it's anything like those 2, which it probably will be, then I will certainly buy it. But if it was for another IP or another game that I might not have had as much experience with, I would be a little bit more reluctant to actually pre-order it.
Yeah, I would more than likely. I don't even pre-order season passes. I'll buy them after the game is out. But yeah, I've never pre-ordered a season pass just for that very same reason. Even for brands that I love, just I don't think I've ever done that. But yeah, sometimes I will just wait for the review and get the DLC afterwards and just pay the full price. Sometimes if they offer it, I'll get the first DLC and then buy the season pass just based off of that one quality. Like kind of the same thing, but kind of not, is Life is Strange. I bought episode 1 of that, but I loved it so much that I was like, you know what, I'm going to play the rest of them just because I want to know the storyline. So I bought the season pass, and it was like a discounted price for episodes 2 through 5, I believe. But with Fallout, do you think they're going to make any major gameplay changes, or what kind of gameplay changes do you want to see in this one?
Wow. Based on what I've seen in the trailer, they've shown a lot of new things. Vehicles have been speculated. I think that's pretty big for the Fallout series. They might be going more towards I don't want to say Borderlands, but how Borderlands had the vehicles and that you could travel in the open world. They might be going towards that. Whether or not I would like to see that, I'm not completely sure yet. I'm not sold on the vehicles. I think it would have to be done really well. I don't think it would make too much sense in just in the story of Fallout, but I'm sure that they could find a way.
Yeah, I mentioned it in the last podcast, and I mentioned mounts and how Skyrim and Oblivion, you get a horse in them because it is such a big world, and it kind of made it a little bit a little faster, because I didn't like the fast travel. I liked going from point A to point B walking, but sometimes I'd like to go a little bit faster. I don't know what kind of I haven't seen any horses in any of the Fallouts or anything like that, but some sort of maybe a motorcycle or a slow vehicle that offers some form of mild protection and speed would be nice. Especially if it's going to be on the new gen consoles, which it more than likely will be. It's probably going to be a lot bigger of a game compared to Fallout 3, geography-wise. So there's going to be a lot more area to cover, ideally, and they probably want to get you there faster. After a certain point in the game, you probably can get some sort of mount, maybe from a DLC or something. However they do that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Bethesda, they've got a pretty good track record for having mount-related DLC with their Oblivion horse armor.
Yeah.
Might be able to do like motorcycle armor or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, as long as it's not broken. Broken OP, I probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually wondering if they're going to pull from any other outside references like Mad Max, especially now that it just came out. Obviously, Mad Max, there's a lot of focus on vehicles, and they might pull from that. Maybe I don't know, but whether I still don't know. I can't tell for certain if it would help or hinder the game. I guess kind of like what you said, it's dependent on a couple of factors. One being, how big is the map? Is this vehicle, this mode of transportation, is it necessary? Are you going to need it, or is it just going to be shoehorned in there? Is it going to be something that you can actually get to places quicker? Are they going to cut down on the fast travel spots?
Right.
That was something, obviously the Fallout games have that. The Elder Scrolls games have that. Fast travel is a huge thing in these games. And I remember when I played Oblivion, I didn't use fast travel because it just wasn't that enjoyable for me. I would rather ride my horse or walk to these destinations, albeit it did take me a very long time to complete the game. But like on your way, you would fight things. So you'd get experience that way. You'd be picking stuff, whatever. And I feel like if you had that approach in a Fallout game, you might have a better experience, or at least if that's kind of what you're going for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, especially with the traveling around. Like I never used quick travel in Oblivion. I think I did in Skyrim, but it took you out of the experience a little bit. It made you feel a little less like the adventurer and more like an action game where you just teleport from checkpoint to checkpoint.
Yeah.
You don't get those crazy encounters, random people, different caves and dungeons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially in Skyrim. Skyrim, there's all these dragon caves that you can go in and get new abilities, and you're rewarded for that. Instead of just traveling from point A to point B, you get rewarded for all these, for taking the wrong road in. And one of the things that I love that I wish more games would do, even I hope Fallout learns from this one, is you level up what you use. I love that. Yeah. I love that so much because I would just walk around jumping because I wanted to be like the highest jumping dude for no reason whatsoever, except for I like jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and it just was a useful skill. And you were rewarded for that, but you weren't if you didn't use it. If I didn't sneak a lot, you weren't sneaky. If you didn't sword fight, you weren't good at swords. If you did, you'd be really good at it and you get new skills. And I wish more games would learn from that, even Fallout. I think that would be cool. That was the one thing that I didn't like about Fallout. It wasn't broken, but as a Bethesda game, I just would have loved to.
You kind of expected the skill ups that way.
If I was doing small arms and stuff like that, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could make a hybrid between those two. They've been super successful with the major skill up. In Skyrim and Oblivion, how you pick a couple skills that you're good at, you work on those skills. Let's say it's like block or something. You would just block over and over again, and every time you would block, you'd gain a little bit of experience in that, and so on and so forth. But with Fallout, obviously it's the pre-allocated. Okay, well, you've leveled up and we put points into this, and that, and I would like to see them kind of combine the two where, okay, if you're putting all your points into small arms or something, or if you're playing, you're putting all your points where you want, and then you go out and you're shooting things with small arms, and let's say you put points into your medicine and you're shooting up stim packs like crazy. I would like to see maybe perks for using those over and over again.
Yeah.
Beyond what they already give you, maybe like an actual XP system where, like, okay, well, you've been shooting your pistol or something, small arms. You've been shooting any various amount of small arms for however long. Here's some XP.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely doable. Whether they will or won't, it still remains to be determined. But I think it could benefit the Fallout series to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is me being very wishful, but I love talking about it because this is my thing. Do you think that there's a chance of co-op being in Fallout 4?
Oh boy, I don't think so. I really don't.
My heart.
I don't think so. But there's been some progress. There's been some huge progress with Skyrim co-op mods from what I've seen, and something tells me that the modding community for Fallout 4 is going to probably carry that idea over and try to make something like that.
That's very promising.
So where Bethesda may not include it, you'll probably be able to mod it.
Yeah, and I'm going to get it on PC because that's the master race. So, yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I love the modding community. I want to get into it myself, start doing some stuff. But yeah, I love them. The multiplayer mod for Just Cause 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's great. It's fun.
Just Cause 2.
If you guys have Just Cause 2 on Steam, download the free multiplayer mod. It's worth it.
Free game.
Yeah. Just Cause 3 got announced too, I believe. Yeah, they did announce a Just Cause 3. I don't know if I'll get that one or not. Probably will play it at least. But there's so many games getting announced right now. If you guys haven't seen the E3 list, IGN posted a list of confirmed and speculated games that are going to get released. There's just a few that caught my eye that I'm kind of excited about or have multiple opinions on. I'm kind of wanting to jump to the MOBA area because I don't know if you know, I'm not a big Peter Molyneux fan, but
whatever it is.
But Fable Legends I think it's Fable Legends. It's a MOBA that they're creating. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it looks interesting. I'm even though I'm not a fan of the last Lionhead Studio games, this one looks promising the way they do it. I'll post a link in the show notes because if you're a MOBA fan, I think it's worth checking out at the very least. They haven't released too much on it, but it looks like it might be. I don't know. I'll try to keep my opinions open on that, but you should check it out. I love the Crackdown series.
I
have no shame for that, but I guess it's Crackdown 3. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I will get it. If I'll probably have to get an Xbox One, but I don't know. I got the first one because of Halo.
That's
Reach.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But the second one was even better, and it's just something about running through a town as a crazy, superpowered cop, just destroying stuff and getting strong. If you've ever played Saints Row 3, they obviously took a note from those games and put that into their game, and I love it because of it. Well, for multiple reasons for Saints Row, but yeah, I gotta get that one.
I don't know too much about Crackdown, but it does look pretty good.
Yeah. This is new to me. I just found this out before recording this podcast, but Mass Effect 4 was announced, and there's already not a trailer, but a video from EA, BioWare. They were talking about making their new Fallout game, or the new Mass Effect game, excuse me, and I'm excited. Have you played the Mass Effect series?
Yeah, I've played 1 and 2. I haven't played 3.
Oh man, I know a lot of people complain about the ending. I didn't mind it. I'm sorry, I'm one of those guys. I just wasn't bothered by it, but it left me wanting more. Is what happened to me.
Yeah,
and I know I heard rumors about an MMO, which I wasn't really excited about. I don't know. MMO transitions just don't really do too well, it seems like.
I wouldn't be crazy about that. I think it should stay a single-player experience.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. There's not much on this game yet, but I'm getting it. That's all I have to say about that one.
That's all.
This actually isn't on the E3 list, but Mike, you showed me this one, and I'm excited for it. It's I'm gonna say this right: Ratchet and Clank, the game based on the movie, based on the game. I'll, I guess the trailer dropped today or very recently, but there is a trailer for that game. So if you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, there'll be a link in the show notes or in the description below. So that, yeah, those are main games that really caught my eye. There's some other ones, but those are the main ones that I'm excited about. Were there any that you saw that you would want to check out? Or want to get?
Besides like Fallout 4, Just Cause 3, I think there's going to be some information there about that. Take a look at this list real quick.
Oh yeah, and then I didn't really think about it until just now, but I mean I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan.
Oh yeah.
If they release anything, I'm really torn right now because of the whole Konami Kojima thing. I won't ramble on too long about this because I've talked about it in the past, but I want to see what they're doing with Metal Gear. I'm worried for it.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I think that's a topic for another podcast.
Oh yeah.
Go on all
yeah. I'm gonna try not to go on about that one.
But I will say that if the footage that they show and the details that they give during E3 aren't promising after Konami's latest goof, I think they're going to lose a lot of fans, and that's going to be very detrimental to the series.
Yeah. I've already said this is my last Konami game.
Yeah, you can't, especially with Metal Gear. That's one of those franchises you just can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Playing with my emotions, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and other than that, I'm just kind of going through this list here. I'm kind of interested to see some more details of the new Battlefront game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've seen some details about that kind of made me a little wary, just because I played the first one. It just seems like, the battles, I believe the battles are smaller from, what this information was. And I think they got rid of the hero classes, and or maybe they didn't get rid of it completely, but they definitely changed it. They changed the game, the Battlefront game, for the worse, in my opinion. And a lot of that stems from a lot of the internet criticism that's coming from that stems from, Battlefront 2 was just such a great game when it came out. There was such a vibrant community. It was widely loved, and now we have EA, who doesn't really have the greatest track record for upholding franchises, taking it and trying to put their spin on what they think Battlefront should be. And whether or not that's going to turn out well, we'll have to see. But I really want to see some positive information come out of that next week at E3, or else I'm just going to pass over it because it's definitely not worth my time.
That's a really good point. Last game I'll talk about before I move on. I'll just say the name of the game and then I'll move on. Kingdom Hearts 3. Yes. That is all. But I've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm lately.
Oh yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. I like it a lot. If you guys haven't played it yet and you like MOBAs, play it. Try it before you judge it. It's good. It takes some getting used to, but it's really worth having. But they just dropped that they're doing a new Diablo-themed event, and it looks really interesting. They have some new characters coming out. I think his name is the Butcher from Diablo 3, one of the first bosses that you fight, if I understand right. The name of the event is Eternal Conflict, so you also get a new stage themed in Diablo where it's like good versus evil, good minions versus evil minions. I think there's still some details to be announced, but I'm excited for it. I'm a big Diablo fan. I'm a big Blizzard fan. I don't know about the character. Like, what do you think about this character? The Butcher.
I actually haven't seen too much about it.
No.
I haven't really been paying attention to the event so much, but from what I've seen, it looks. I mean, the map looks really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's good versus evil. 2 lanes, I believe. That's pretty much all there is to it with the map. So it's not like too crazy strategic, but
yeah. From what I also understand is like war breaks out periodically throughout the map as well. I don't know how they're going to do that just yet, but I do know there's battles that happen between the two, the good and evil. So
right.
That's going to be really interesting. I'm curious to see more on that. I'm definitely going to play the crap out of it when it comes out.
Yeah.
And I might. The Butcher, he looks like a warrior because he's so big, but from what I understand, he's an assassin, which is odd because he has a huge cleaver and the little scythe type thing. But
it looks like Stitches.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when I saw him. Before I even saw the picture of him, that's just the thought that came to mind was like another Stitches. But it looks like they're going in a different direction, which they've really surprised me so far with each character I've played. It's very unique. You can tell. I don't play a lot of Dota, but I played a lot of League of Legends, and a lot of the characters had some skills definitely inspired by League of Legends and probably Dota as well, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna. I don't know why I like Dota or not Dota. HOTS, Heroes of the Storm, so much. It's just easier in some ways, but also more strategic. Like the objectives are way more obvious. It seems like to me.
Coming from somebody that's played too much Dota, just like how you play heroes is it's not like, I don't want to say brain dead, but like you're on more like autopilot sometimes, I feel, and you get a chance to relax and like take it in, and at least for me when I play, it's not crazy metagame crap where you're gotta block creeps, gotta pull creeps, gotta do this, gotta do that, you gotta cancel animations, whereas in Heroes of the Storm, you're very limited to what you can do with your hero. You can cast spells and you can right click and move around. That's pretty much it, and there's not too much room for advanced tactics, I should say. So you're pretty much and obviously how Heroes works. You farm for the first couple of minutes of the game, you try to get experience, and then you team fight, and to me it just seems a little bit more fluid than League of Legends and Dota.
Yeah, I both agree and disagree at the same time. The only part I disagree on is that it is very simplified compared to Dota and League, but where you don't have to worry about item management and stuff like and buying all these different crazy jungling items and stuff like that. You focus on higher character levels up, which you can. I play a lot of Thrall, and he's an assassin, and you can change the way you play that character. I can go with just spamming long distance skills and just be a caster, or I can go tanky, or I can go in your face and be like this bruiser that's really hard to kill because of my sustainability. And it's really interesting how they downplay the items and stuff like that, but the way you level up your character really matters. And then each map is a little different too. Or I guess very different. And it doesn't really show until you start getting a lot of teammates that care about objectives, but it's a totally different kind of gameplay than League and Dota, because I'm trying to think of one of the levels, for example, but the one where you have to kill the spiders and get their gems. I can't think of the name of it, but um, that changes how you want to play your character and how like your teamwork goes. Because when I play Thrall, I'll go and make it so that I do more damage the more minions I kill, rather than just getting one of the skills that increases my mana regeneration. And so I'll do that. I'll start spamming and getting the gems and getting my power up. So I'm going for a late game build. So I have all this attack damage built up by the end of the game. And with the teamwork, you kind of want to block them off from capturing. So you have to manage your health and pay attention to how much health they have and try to block them from going ahead and turning in their stuff and all these different kind of things that you don't think about when you're playing League of Legends, because they don't have those sort of objectives in the game, or Dota as well. And
definitely.
I don't know. It's both really simple. It's really easy to pick up because of how they introduce you to the game and keep it really basic. But the better you get at the game and the more comfortable you get with your character, the more room there is for strategy. I feel like the learning curve is a lot less steep. With League of Legends, you learn your character, you learn the skills, and then it's just like they throw you into the wild. But with this, you kind of slowly you're learning as you go, and you're progressing, and the learning curve is a lot more obvious, I feel.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, I think, for MOBAs. I feel like League of Legends and Dota will probably take a few notes from this, because it's a well-made game and it just came out of beta. And I feel it has the backing of a Blizzard game, but but that money alone doesn't make a game good. I mean, we've seen that numerous times. But I think it's just a really enjoyable game, different kind of game, and I know a lot of people kind of want to compare the 2 or 3 to say which one is better or which one isn't. But other than the time vacuum that they all have, I see no reason why one has to be held better than the other or anything like that. They're all really well-made games that deserve some money to be thrown at them. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I personally don't think that Heroes of the Storm should be compared to Dota or League entirely.
Yeah.
They are MOBAs, but I feel like, especially now that esports are a thing and these games are so intricate, Dota and League, to be a pro player, to get the most out of that game, there are intricacies in that game that you need to have this advanced knowledge of to be successful in the game. You don't really need that in Heroes, at least as far as I've played. I mean, high level ranked might be different, but from what I've seen, there's not a whole lot of that. And yes, they're lumped in the same genre, so they're all 3 of them are MOBAs, but I still don't think that they're close enough, that Heroes is close enough to either Dota or League for them to be compared, because they're just completely different games in the same genre. It would be like comparing Command and Conquer to like Civilization.
Mm-hmm.
They might fit in the same genre. Granted, MOBA is a pretty specific genre, but
pretty small right now.
Yeah, Dota and League of Legends have crafted the MOBA genre into something. They're their own games. If you are going to play Dota, and Dota players will say that they won't play anything else besides Dota. League of Legends players won't play anything else besides League of Legends.
Yeah.
So, and like Heroes is the game where you don't need to have any of those advanced metagame tactics, and you could just have fun and play it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to pick up. And the community seems to be fairly friendly right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I was playing it in beta, so it may change now that it's officially out. Hopefully, the toxic League players and toxic Dota players don't, make their way over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely its own beast and deserves to be seen in its own light.
Definitely. And I will just say, for anyone that hasn't played Heroes of the Storm, Perhaps you've played League of Legends or Dota. Heroes of the Storm games typically last anywhere from 11 minutes to around 25 minutes.
It's a good point.
If you're looking for something to just get in, get a quick match done, and you don't want to stay around or have the threat of an hour-and-a-half long game in either League of Legends or Dota or whatever, then Heroes is a pretty good remedy to that.
Most definitely. So the big topic tonight is Steam, and especially with this even more relevant with the Steam sale right around the corner. I know they leaked some of the games. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but if anyone has a link to the leaked games, let me know. But the Steam refunds. A lot of people have been going back and forth about how this has been hurting the indie community, and I have many opinions on this for sure. But do you think for you, Mike, do you think the return policy is being abused, or do you think that it's an issue with quality for those games that have a high return rate?
I think it has to deal with quality, but I also don't want to just say it's black and white. I think there's gray area here. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's being abused? Yes. I think people are abusing. I know people are abusing the Steam refunds. I see it online all the time on image boards, forums, you name it. I see people that are getting refunds on games with 200 plus hours. Grand Theft Auto, I've seen Grand Theft Auto refunds. I've seen refunds in AAA games all the way down to indie games. So yeah, I do think there are some people that are abusing them. But I think the majority of the issue that I have with these refunds and kind of what I want to put my finger on with the issue of this is that games, especially these indie games coming out, and we're involved. We're making an indie game right now, and we're trying to get as much content as possible. We want the player to be engrossed in the game for a set amount of time, hopefully as much time as they can possibly put into the game. The more time that they put into it, the greater. I think indie games should focus more on content, and I think this kind of speaks to what's been going on recently with the quality and the amount of content that is being provided with indie games today. You've got $5-10 games that have 1 hour, 2 hour play times, and that because in the Steam refund user agreement, it says that a minimum of 2 hours, or the maximum is 2 hours in a game to get it refunded. So you can't have played more than 2 hours of a game to get it refunded. So okay, well, let's pick up a game, let's beat it in an hour, and then return it, no questions asked. And that's something that you can do. I don't really want to say that's abuse of it. I think that is something that people are realizing that, okay, I'm not going to spend $5 for an hour-long game. People are realizing that content is worth more now, and I think that kind of speaks to that.
Yeah.
This whole situation. So, but I feel like maybe it's me, but I kind of do expect a little bit more content than what I've been seeing. I've been playing games like Faster Than Light, Risk of Rain, Rogue Legacy, some of my favorite indie games. They range anywhere from $10 to $15, and I've gotten more than 120 hours plus in all 3 of the games, and
Wow.
they're great games. For $10, you can't beat it. You pick up games. I picked up Assassin's Creed for $60. I played it. I got maybe 12 hours of entertainment out of it, and it was done.
Yeah.
So, and plus, another point that I'd like to bring up too with this whole Steam refund thing is more indie games are coming out now, and I don't want to say they're not great, but
Right.
they're definitely, the level of content that's being provided is not what it should be. These games are getting made and put onto the green light and then getting onto the store at pretty crazy numbers. And yeah, I think I generally think that these Steam refunds this abuse speaks to the fact that especially with indie games, and I think we're specifically talking about Steam refunds with indie games, or
Right.
just in general?
Mainly indie games. I know AAA, there's that whole thing, but it's almost like another. For certain parts of it, it could be like a whole another conversation. If we have time,
Right.
we'll get to that as well. But yeah, mainly indie games right now, because it's especially relevant to us as indie game developers and probably a lot of other aspiring
Right.
or current indie game developers. It's stuff that kind of, I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of opinions, and one of the big things for me, and which is kind of funny because I watched a video by, you sent it to me, the Total Biscuit, the Cynical Brit, and he talks about this. And I usually tend to, I don't know, I just find myself really agreeing with just about everything he said in this video. And he said it, very well. There are a lot of thoughts that I had already had. He kind of solidified those thoughts for me. And one of the big things is that, there are people talking about, they've had a spike in or a loss in sales. And the thing is that there's been a lot of, there's the Steam sales coming up. So a lot of people aren't going to be buying games right now. They're waiting to see what's going to be on sale. One of the biggest things is the quality of your game. And I'm not one to bash any sort of game.
Right.
I have a very high threshold for games. I have a high tolerance. But I will say that sometimes the price that someone is charging for their game is not worth the quality of their content.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even have to be a matter of my opinion. Numbers don't lie. If your game is really good and your marketing is done properly, your game is going to sell, regardless of the returns. And I've worked in the video game industry long enough to see if a game is good, like genuinely good, it's going to sell. You're going to have people who are going to return the game or going to try to, but the percentage is so low, it's not going to matter. The people who love your game and love your company, they're going to buy your game and keep it just because of who you are. And that's what a fan is. A fan doesn't buy your game and return it. That's just a person who's trying to, either get a good deal or didn't like your game, or just they're cheap as hell, to put it bluntly. But if someone absolutely loves your game and loves what you're about, they will buy your game. They'll keep it, and they'll buy anything else that you drop just because they like who you are or what you represent.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people who are upset about this, especially indie game developers, they don't trust their fan base, or they don't have a large fan base. And you can't develop a fan base if you don't have trust. If you don't think that your game is good enough for people to keep, if you think that most of the people that are buying your game are just going to return it, there's a problem there. And it's not the customer. It's you or your content. And you have to trust the people that are going to play your game, trust your fans or anybody. It's not just you make a game and it's done and you make money, and there's more to it than that. There's a lot of things that come into play. The marketing, the play testing, and that's a big thing for me that I'm excited about, is play testing. If you're not receiving, if you're not having people test your game who are going to give you honest, very, very brutal feedback, you shouldn't even, in my opinion, you shouldn't even release your game. You shouldn't offer it for money if you don't have people playing it for free and are willing to give you their honest feedback, and have people who are willing to play your game and want to keep on playing it after like extenuous testing and whatnot. But yeah, that's just me. I think that there will be a lot of abuse, like you said, but if a game is really, really good, it's definitely going to it's going to sell, you know?
Yeah. And with these Steam refunds, something interesting that Total Biscuit pointed out, he was bringing up some charts, and he talked about how this one indie developer was selling a lot of copies, you know, maybe 50 copies of his game or whatever, and of that, 70% of those people would return the game or get refunded their game.
Right.
So essentially, what you're having is people that want to play the game, but they're not willing to pay for it. So they want to play the game, but they don't want to pay for it. And developers get upset by this, obviously, because they're not getting money for it. What does this sound like? Is there another way that you can do that online right now to download a game and not pay for it? There is. Pirating. You pirate a game. When you pirate a game, you know, you are obviously not paying anything to the developers and you are getting to play it. So, and this kind of goes off on a tangent in pirating, and, you know, that's probably another topic for another day. But basically what my thoughts are on piracy and how these refunds, these people that do refund and quote unquote abuse the system, so far as how indie games are concerned, is that they are not actually potential consumers of their game. Were they going to purchase the game in the first place? Is the developer actually losing sales when they buy their game and then refund it? Were they going to do that in the first place? Even if the refund system wasn't there, if the refund system was gone and the person that bought the game could not refund it, would that person still buy it? And that's something that these developers need to understand, and it's just another tool for people to do that. And for the most part, kind of like what you said, if you've got a good product and you know you trust your audience and you are offering something, you're offering a $5 worth game, people feel like it's worth $5. With indie games, people are generally going to buy them and keep them.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. So these people that are abusing the system aren't those people. Those aren't the people that are going to buy your game. Those are the people that were going to go on Pirate Bay and download your game anyway.
Right.
Because that's just what happens. So I think it's really, you need to, and Total Biscuit brings up the point as well towards the end of that spiel, that the person said that 70% of the people that bought his game refunded it. That still means that 30% of those people bought the game, and those are customers. So it's not like he was losing anything, because it's an indie game. The fact that you got any sales whatsoever, you know, your sales jumped because of this refund thing, yes, but the fact that you have reached out to you know, X amount of more people, even though they refunded your game, that's still a bonus. Because you just have to assume that they weren't going to buy your game in the first place. And that's just something that you have to live with.
Yeah.
So
there's some important factors too that that kind of need to be taken into consideration with this whole Steam refund thing. Is the first thing is, it's way too soon to tell. You know, the people talking about their numbers being low because of the refund, it just happened. There's no way for sure that you can tell that it's being affected because of that. The second thing that kind of coincides with that is the fact that people couldn't refund their game before this whole thing happened. So your projected sales or your sales that you're making right now, it's kind of going to fluctuate, I'd say, for the next year or so until people get used to the fact that they can refund games, because you what was I going to say? You have this safety net now, or the consumer has this safety net. I can now buy a game without fear that I'm going to be wasting my money. Pretty much almost most services in general, you can get a refund. Even especially used video games at GameStop, which that's not the developer that loses that money unless it's not opened and whatnot. But that's a whole other thing. But clothes, even food, you can get a refund on stuff if you're not satisfied with the product. And that's part of that trust. If a clothing line is making clothes and you're having high returns, that means that your clothes are probably just plain shitty. That means that no one wants to wear your clothes if you have more returns, or if you have an equal amount of returns as you do sales. With this, it's going to fluctuate a lot, and there's going to be people who are going to be a lot braver to try your game out. They might not buy your game, but like you said, they weren't going to buy that game in the first place. But now they have at least a chance to try. But even if they do buy your game and return it, and they did in fact enjoy your game and shouldn't have returned it, I guarantee you that they have become a marketer for your company. They're going to tell their friends, hey, you should try this game. And not every one of their friends is going to be, douchebag Dan and return the game as well. I'm sure some of them will. But, just like with marketing, you're having all these people talk about the game through word of mouth. Even the people who pirate the game, if they love your game enough, two things could possibly happen. One, they'll just buy your game. Or one, they'll buy your game. And then two, they will talk about your game. And
absolutely,
even if your game is very terrible, that's still free marketing. That's they didn't buy your game, but now they are an affiliate for your company. They're talking about your game. They are telling people to check it out through whatever means, and the word is spreading. Right. So, as any kind of game developer, you want marketing. So, when people are complaining about these refunds, they're really hurting themselves, in my opinion. I think they're causing themselves to look very paranoid. They're making themselves look like the victim. And I think that's just a really bad look. I think you should just learn from the experience. It's way too soon to tell. Just keep on collecting data, keep on seeing, talk to the community, reach out if you can, like say, what do you think about our game? Where can we improve? Don't blame the consumer. It's not, I don't completely go by this motto, but the customer is always right sort of thing. Sometimes there is a lot of truth to that. Why are so many people returning your game? Is it because it's too short? Is it because it's not good? Like, there's some factor other than the fact that they're just cheap or they're a bad person. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we'll see as time goes on what else is going on. But I will say it is still in the early development. Like, do you think there's anything they could do right now to kind of help any developers who do feel like they're being cheated? Because, I mean, I'm not saying that it's completely bad games, but right. There are some people who are abusing it for sure. Are there any things that you think that they could add to the return or refund function that would help indie game developers, or anybody for that matter, any developer?
I think based on the game, the 2-hour limit, I feel like that could be reworked a little bit. Because what you're basically doing there, what Valve has done by putting the 2-hour hard mark is saying that, okay, anything under that is pretty much fair game. If you can beat it's inviting players to beat games under 2 hours and return them.
Yeah.
And they can make that a little bit more flexible. That might help. Maybe with indie games, it's completely different. I personally don't think that the refunds should be attached to indie games, period. And I only think that because the transaction is so small. And normally the people that do end up buying the indie games have put a lot of research into them, and they understand what they're getting from the get-go, from the beginning. They know. If if you look on Steam and you followed any indie game that you've really loved, you are going to buy it no matter what, and that's just how it is. So I think another way that this system could be remedied is if maybe Steam, if Valve kind of talks to developers, and when developers put their games on the store, they can kind of coerce them to make a demo or some sort of playable, try before you buy sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I haven't been seeing a lot of. I haven't been seeing too many demos of games that I've actually wanted to play recently.
Absolutely agree.
And this is something that I feel you can try on anything on, at a store. You go to a clothes store, you try on clothes. You go to buy a car. Obviously, you take it for a test drive. Having a demo, having it, even an indie game, if you can get an indie game with like a 10, 15-minute demo, just enough to show the player what the game's about. It might take a little bit more time, but I think it's definitely worth it for the developer. You are going to secure those sales, so you're going to eliminate the people that would have returned the game anyway. And you are, you're sorting through those people and without fear of the refunds. Because I'm going to be less likely to return the game if I've played your game and from the 30-minute demo, 15-minute demo, whatever, I've enjoyed it so much that, okay, well, I want the full experience. I'm going to purchase your game on Steam.
Right.
If I was not interested in the game, I would have downloaded the demo, said screw this, and not purchase your game anyway. So I think that's the main way that they can do that. The main way that they can sort through those types of people. And another thing too, I don't mean to ramble on about this, but the again, the quality of the game, the quality of the content that's being provided. And again, Total Biscuit kind of hinted at this a little bit in his in his video about how when the player starts up the game, let's say they've purchased the game on Steam, they're taking it for a trial run. They're not sure if they're going to return it. They've got 2 hours to decide it. If they can't decide within 2 hours, they're going to return it. So it's kind of the game developer and the designer's job to hook in the player, because that's what the game does. That's what any game does, tries to draw the player in. So successful game design would say that a player could pick up a game for an hour or less than 2 hours and either be fully engrossed in the game or completely doesn't want anything to do with it. So I mean, those are two options that Valve could pursue.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the demo part, for sure. I don't know if that's on Steam and Valve or if that's the developer. I don't know if people are allowed to upload demos and things of that nature, like builds of their game. Sure. But I think that would, one, let the consumer know what they're getting into before they buy it, and then two, it would keep the sales numbers, like their stats of the developer, a lot more stable, rather than people buying it and returning it. You have a demo that you can get, and it's like front and center. Here's a demo. Try our game out for free. Free sample of our game. And again, they could take a note from other non-game related markets where you try something before you buy it. You like it. You want to pay for the full thing. That's just kind of a smart deal. It's just the way it works. And then with the other part, it made me think. It made me ask the question if this continues on, like from the 2 hour rule or some sort of time span, do you think the way games are developed could change? Like you said, with hooking people in, it might want to encourage game developers to make their game be longer than 2 hours so that they hook them in that first 2 hours to where they have something more to go to, more incentive, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it might also create a mainstream style of indie games, so to speak, kind of like how AAA games are. There's a pattern or a style to how those games are made. Yeah, that's kind of a curious thought. And I have 2 suggestions as well, or at least one, where I think instead of the 2-hour rule, and it should be a percentage of the average playtime of the game, like 20% of the playtime, and then you're not allowed to get a refund on your game. Because there's games, and I personally wouldn't buy anything like this, but there's a 2-minute game out there now. And yeah, it's pretty easy to refund that game. Like, you can beat that game multiple times and then refund it. And so that, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't buy a 2-minute game. That's just me. But for the most part, it should be a percentage of however long the average playtime of that game is. And they should have to report this to Valve and Steam. This is the average playtime of my game. This is, 20% of, 10 hours is 2 hours. That's kind of fair. You're getting 20% of the game, the average game, and that should be more than enough to kind of get a feel for what the game is at that point before you offer a refund.
Right.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, to just add to that, I think that the by kind of requiring indie devs to like create more content, it might weed out the less successful indie games from Steam because they just might take their business elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And kind of to speak to what you were saying, I think that might happen if that is the approach that is taken.
Yeah, I mean it's true, and this is something that people tend to forget for some reason, is that Steam is their own. Valve owns Steam. We don't own Steam. It's their rules whether we like it or not. And up until now, no one's ever been able to return a digital version of a game, at least on Steam that I know of. And there's other platforms that you can use if you think your game is, if you think your game is really good. There are other platforms that you can use, but Steam gives you free marketing, or at least, I don't want to say free, but it's a good marketing platform for your game. But it's not the only one. So, even once my game is up on Steam and everything, I'm not going to complain because of high returns. If there's high returns, it's nothing to do with Steam. It's more so on the game.
Yeah.
And I have other options that I can use, like Desura or something like that. And so, it's their way or the highway at the end of the day. You kind of should voice your opinion, for sure, but I don't think it should be to the amount of disrespect, because Steam has helped PC games stay alive for a very long time. There was a small window of time when PC games were dying out. I remember this because I was working at GameStop, and it just wasn't doing that well. It was between, Steam was out, but it was when the physical copies were dying down, and it just wasn't. PC games were kind of sad for a short while, because it was like the 360 and the PS3 were the dominant consoles during that era. There were a lot of people who were playing it, but it was kind of a limited selection. But now every game that you can get on console, it's out on PC as well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for a long time. Steam definitely played a big part in that. And I feel a lot of people have forgotten that or don't realize that. But
yeah,
they've done a lot for us, and they've done a lot for PC games. And again, I can't help but stress this fact that if your game is really, really good, people are going to buy it. Regardless of however this refund policy works. I think it can be improved, but this is new. They're working on it for sure, and we need to not complain, but come up with suggestions for them to have. They have an idea, but they don't have all the ideas. It's up to us to kind of help them with it rather than just complaining. You know, if two people are pissed off about a situation, if you're both just sitting there complaining, is anything going to get accomplished? No. But if you sit down and say, okay, I'm not satisfied with this. How can we fix it? You know, how can we improve upon what we already have? Like, I want to have this feature, but how can we make it to where it's fair for both parties and everyone's happy? You know, rather than just sitting there and complaining. What are you bringing to the table? What are you offering other than just your opinion?
Right.
And so, I have very strong opinions, and it could change as time, you know, as time goes on. I am not solidified in any one opinion. You know, as I get more information, I evolve my ideas based off of the facts rather than just my opinion. So things can change as more stats come out. We will learn more, for sure. But
yeah.
Are there any closing points that you'd like to add about Steam or any of the indie game issues that you've heard lately?
Not really. Pretty much just, I think, I think the Steam refunds are a greater issue than just you know, people abusing it. I think it's shining light on some things with indie games, and what is expected of them, and that that might I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what the Steam refunds will do to indie games specifically, because we want to see the refund system in place, but we want to see it worked, you know, reworked to a point where it's not abused. But I think at the end of the day, the content being provided, the scope of these indie projects needs to be increased a little bit here. If you're asking for money from somebody, that you better damn well make sure that product is put to that price point, to that standard. If you look at other games, and you know, if you're going for a $5, $10 game, whatever, and you're only offering 2 hours of experience, look at your game and get a feel of, you know, does your game stack up to other popular, very successful $10 price point indie games?
Yeah.
If not, rethink it.
And I agree with that. And I'd also like to add on that for a lot of people, they, probably myself included, can't gauge themselves. They can't get a feel for themselves. So I would say it should be mandatory that you get a hardcore, like, stress test, like people playing your game, people giving you an opinion, like you sitting people down and saying, hey, how much would you pay for this game? Would you pay $5 for this game? Would you pay $10 for this game? Would you pay $15 for this game? And get the general number. Don't just put a price tag on it because that's what everyone else is doing in that genre of style of game. It's individual. It's your game. Your game might be worth an average of $7 because that's just what people would pay and not a dollar more. So you need to get basically get over the fear of constructive criticism. Put yourself out there and ask people, what do you think of my game? Be brutally honest. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what you think of my game. You know, how can I improve it? How can I make it more fun? What's bad about it? How are the controls? You know, how's the length of the game? Is it too long? Is it too short? Did it keep your attention? Did it hook you in? All these questions need to be asked. And I feel like, again, I don't like to bash games, but I feel like a lot of the games in indie and in AAA aren't asking this question. They're not getting hardcore feedback. You know, you hear a lot of people talking about their game, but I feel they're not willing to take the constructive the constructive criticism. And, you know, I can think of one person in particular who's, you know, a creative director. I won't say their name, but they brag and brag and brag about how great and how revolutionary their game is and how good it is. But at the end of the day, they can't take constructive criticism. They won't listen to reason. They think their game is good and won't change their opinion. They won't listen to anybody who is trying to help them. And I know he's not the only person out there. You know, there's people in AAA, there's people in the indie scene that think their game is the shit and aren't willing to listen to other people who are telling them that their game is not that great. They need to improve it. They need to do something new. And don't be one of those people. You know, listen to other people. Listen to that general average. Don't listen to your closest friends who aren't going to tell you, oh, you know, they're not going to tell you your game is bad because they don't want to hurt your feelings. You need to talk to the people who are brutally honest and very intellectual in their opinion. They don't just talk about opinion. They point out facts. They tell you your game is not good for this reason, this reason, and this reason. You know, here's why I didn't enjoy my experience. Not just, oh, your game is great, I love it, or no, your game is terrible. Like, don't listen to the bad feedback. They don't give you any constructive criticism. Like, your game sucks. Okay, how does it suck? It sucks. Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that. You know, there's both sides, but as a developer, you need to be that person that, you know, is willing to take the good with the bad and actually learn and improve from it.
Exactly.
You know. So that's my main points on that one. I'd like to know if there's any indie game developers out there or aspiring developers. You know, what are your thoughts on these subjects? What, you know, for people who have put their games on Steam, have you noticed any peaks or rise, like, you know, dips in your sales and stuff like that? You know, are there any concerns that you guys have? What are your thoughts, or do you have any suggestions for how they can improve this yourself? You know, if you have an opinion, don't keep it to yourself. You know, let us know, let Valve know, but do it in a constructive way that makes the gaming community, especially the indie community, look like they can be productive and constructive, you know. But that's just my thoughts on that. You know, I'd like to know what you guys think. So leave some comments down in the comments down below. You know, everything we talked about, try to leave show notes. I'll leave a link to the Cynical Brits video talking about his, you know, I guess he got emails from some of the indie game developers and also the developers of Postal 2. They sent him an email as well, and it's very informative, so I recommend you guys check it out. I'll leave a link to that as well. Mike, is there any links that you'd like to, you know, where can they check out your work or anything like that?
No, I don't really, besides the game that we're working on.
Right.
That's pretty much all I'd like to promote for now.
Okay. And yeah, that link is, I believe it's facebook.com/TeamOberonGames. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. If you guys want to check out that. We're making a top-down shooter. I don't want to give too many details right now, but you guys can definitely check that out. If you have any questions, let us know. But yeah, my name is Philosopher. Again, check out any of our stuff that we put in the description down below. Would love to know what you guys think. Check out theconsoleexplosion.com. It's your one-stop shop for all the nerdy news that you want to check out, you know, and that's where you can talk to me and all of the other content providers on the website. We have our own forum. You can talk to us one-on-one, get to know the people who post, and then you can also check out our multi-channel community. I'll leave a link to all that in the description down below. But yeah, I'm the Philosopher, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.